2 days before I was set to give birth, I find out that my husband had very different plans. He sends me an email. Yep, an email like a cold caller, and tells me that he just doesn't feel like he's ready to be a father and he's leaving me for his ex, and they're going to run away into the distance. Well, you know what? He thought that he was about to get his inheritance, but I went behind his back and basically made that a no-go. How would you react if you found out that the person you've spent your blood, sweat, and tears and a whole lot of time with is not the person that you thought you were with anymore? Forget being close to the person you fell in love with. Now he's just plain old plum evil. A type of person you would not spend a day with, even in your nightmares. How would you react if that happened to you? I assumed you would lose your mind and be incredibly upset. Well, I'm here with you, but what do you do next? Because this is not any way to get from here. Well, this is getting confusing, so let me just start from the get-go. Before I, Christy, discovered my husband's unimaginable betrayal 2 weeks ago, I was the happiest I've ever been. I'll explain why in a bit. Everything in my life was going right. Before any of this, I always thought of Francis as a great husband. I've never been the type of person who lives in a fantasy world or has very stupid expectations. I've always kept my expectations balanced and achievable, and Francis has never failed me. We met a long time ago, and slowly grew towards each other, and at this point we've been married for almost 3 years. But something tells me we're not going to get to 4. So, like I already mentioned, Francis had always been really good to me. He just made me realize the more and more after we got married. Sometimes I could not believe I married such a great guy. Well, it turns out that when something in life is too good to be true, most time it actually is. But I believed I was the exception to this. It turns out everyone believes that they're the exception, but there rarely is one. Francis. He comes from a really wealthy family, I'll just say it, but his parents raised him to be his own man, and it showed. He did not depend on their money at all and earned really well, but I have to mention this here. I also earn really well, well enough for me. Before anyone even says it, I did not marry him for the money. If you look at it that way, of course it would seem like it because I was not from a high-level family, but I've never cared about money that much. Actually, Francis is the one who pushed me to marry him when I asked for it sometime, but I was eventually going to say yes anyways. I don't have parents of many relatives, so I always wanted to stay close to him. Even his parents treated me well and never once made me feel like we had a difference of, heaven and earth between where we came from. They appreciated my hard work and made me genuinely feel like I was a part of the family. I'll be honest, at first I expected them to be jerks, but it made me really happy that they weren't. Even now, I still love my mother-in-law, Dorothy, and father-in-law, Jack. Yeah, very much so, actually, because there's no way that they can be involved. So, guys, I'm always getting ahead of myself with these. Let me get to the issue at hand. I guess you can say that it actually started almost a month ago when I got the great news of my entire life. After over a year of trying, we were finally pregnant. Yes, me. I immediately told my husband and we decided not to celebrate too early. Then we found out that we actually were, and we celebrated. Believe me, guys, I'm telling you this. Well, after trying for such a long time and being disappointed, finally becoming pregnant made me so happy. And I'm sure I would, have had the happiest life had my husband not turned out to be a cheating liar. Yeah, let me just tell you what all happened. I'm not a jealous person. I have never been. And I'm not insecure either. I fully believe and trusted my husband to stay loyal, as I believed he had for years, and I never doubted him. I never checked his phone, laptop, or anything. The funny thing is, it's also kind of my own fault for being this trusting. 2 weeks ago, I was at home. He had his laptop there. Since I had time to kill before my lunch with friends, I decided to open it up and see what he had saved there. I wasn't really snooping, but more so trying to find embarrassing things to tease him about. It turns out that he had connected his phone to his laptop so that you could see his text messages and calls that he made in real time. As I was trying to find things, I found out that, he was texting someone, so I opened up the text to see just who it was. It was an unsaved number, but it was definitely female based on the reply. Well, you wouldn't believe what she was saying. Also, Francis was talking like he really knew her, which surprised me a little because it was weird at first, but then it just got weirder. She kept asking him when he was coming, and he kept saying soon, and then towards the end he told her that he finished work and would be heading there soon, and he called her Rose. Well, this sent shivers down my spine because I immediately knew who this was. The nickname for Rose is my husband's ex-girlfriend, whom he's been friends with for years. When I first met him, he was really hungover on her, as she had broken up with him and it took him a good amount of time to forget her. But when he became friends with her after we got married, I was not worried, because at that point Rose was married too. I know it's stupid that I let him be friends with her unbothered, but you have to realize he had never ever made me doubt him once. He was the most loyal guy. Plus, as I already said, she was married too, and he was over her a long time ago. He was trying to have a kid with me, so I didn't worry, but I was very wrong not to worry. Now, I've recently found this out, but it turns out that Rose is actually single, as she's divorced her husband about 2 months ago. After discovering that he might be cheating, I went a little crazy and bugged the whole house with audio recorders and hidden cameras. I did the same with his car and even put a recorder on his phone. A few days ago, I checked everything to find out that my husband was not only cheating on me, but was planning something even worse. I'll just tell you guys straight away what I found out. So, it turns out that his affair he's been having is not recent. He's been cheating on me for almost a year now. And they're not just hooking up. Remember the divorce Rose had? Yeah, well that happened because she wants to get married to Francis. And he wants the same. Also, he was cheating on me before I found out that Rose even came back into his life. Can you believe that? So I don't think my decision would have changed much. So why did he marry me? Is the question, right? Well, I actually have the answer. It turns out my in-laws never liked Rose, and when he tried to marry her, they threatened to cut him off from the family. He made me believe that he did not care about money much, but it turns out that he did. The only thing he wanted from his parents was the huge inheritance that he was promised. I've heard him talking to my father-in-law about this, and many times he has told him to be patient. But it turns out he had only married me to impress them with a hard-working girl, and then was planning on dipping as soon as he got the money. But unfortunately, it did not work out as he planned, as his parents had not yet given it to him. And do you know what his plan is now? Well, he plans on running away with Rose as soon as he gets the inheritance. He plans on throwing me away like a used toy. And the most unbelievable thing about all this is the fact that it gets even worse from here. If you remember, I've not talked about how he feels about our pregnancy. Also, you're probably thinking, why try for a kid if you don't plan on staying? Well, it turns out he does not want a kid. I remember him opposing us having children really fast, but I kept trying to change his mind, and when he figured out that his parents might be more inclined to give him the inheritance if they knew that he was trying, he agreed. Well, the reason I could not get pregnant was because he was sabotaging me from the start. But this time a miracle must have happened and he could not get to me. He and Rose have fought non-stop about the pregnancy thing, and he has promised her that he's going to take care of it. Don't get it twisted. Not take care of the baby like you think. Just take care of getting rid of it. That's his plan. He wants to get rid of the pregnancy just because it's a hassle for him. Can you believe it? I married this man. I've been crying every time I think about this. The person I love so much and imagine my whole future with has turned out to be like this. Why didn't he just leave me? And on top of that, he and Rose have been planning what they could do to stop the pregnancy? But now that I know that they'll do this, they're never going to get what they want. Both of them have made the worst mistake of their lives. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to the baby. The problem is, I don't know what to do next. I barely even believe what's actually happening to me is real. If you have any ideas, please help me. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I can't believe OP is going through this drama. This must be a tough situation, so I went and got 2 comments. And both of these comments give completely different opinions. I want to know from you guys, which one of these comments are you rocking with? The first comment from Vin Smoke Judge says, I can't believe what is happening to you, OP. I've read a lot of stories here, but this is one of the most shocking. I can't believe that you not only found your husband to be a cheater, but he's also trying to harm, well, you and the unborn. What kind of person is he? All of this just for the money from his parents? I mean, why not just run away with the ex if he hates his life so much? Some people can be so cruel. I honestly don't know what you can do at this point, but I hope you do something good. Don't let them go so easily. Maybe you can tell his parents or something. Comment number 2 says maybe something a little different. Gerald, no but. I mean, I don't want to victimize blame here, but OP, you're also at fault. Not only did you not monitor him enough, but you also let him get together with his ex. I mean, I understand that there was no way you could have known, but you did marry the guy. You should have seen that he was not at all interested in you. How could you be tricked like this for a whole marriage? You should have realized that his love was not real. Now you're stuck in a bad place, but you have evidence, so use it. Show everybody the truth. Please, I'm begging you, divorce this guy and make him regret messing with you. Forget you ever loved him and make his life hell, girl. Update number 1. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So, it's been over a week and I don't think I can hold out any longer. I've made a decision, but I wanted to ask you guys if I should do it or not, because if this goes in the wrong direction, I'm pretty much immediately just done. Let me explain. After I made the post, a lot of you guys told me to stop taking his crap and get out of the house. It wasn't a bad idea, but you have to understand I've given this man so much, so I'm not just going to let him leave. Especially after I found out that he wanted to make me drop the kid without my consent. I thought about leaving because every time I saw him I just felt bad, and it was hard to control my emotions. It took every fiber of my being to not go to him and punch him in the face for doing this to me, but I decided to channel that anger in the right place and do the right thing, and I did come up with a plan. But first I need evidence. See, I monitored Francis and his actions so closely so that he could not do something that he planned to do. I also found out that the doctor I've been seeing was under his probation as well, so I made an excuse to go to another doctor who would not listen to my absurd husband. I was pretty sure that his plan involved adding something to my food just to get rid of the pregnancy, so I was always on my toes. Now, I did let him try a few times. Why? Well, duh. Because I needed the evidence. I know that at this point the best thing I could have done is collect as much evidence as possible so that nobody can even think that he's right in this for a second, a millisecond. It hurts me to say this, but he actually went ahead with his plan and tried a few times. I did not expect him to, but he did. But every time I found an excuse to dodge the food, both Rose and him got more and more frustrated. Then I told my husband what was going on, and she gave me a great idea. I made our new doctor tell us that the pregnancy needed a lot of care and could go very easily. He asked us to hire a pregnancy nutritionalist to help take care of the food 24/7. Obviously, I didn't really need it. I just needed an excuse to keep someone with me at all times so that my husband could not do anything to me. I hired my best friend's cousin, Zoe, who is not a nutritionist at all and is here to always look after what I eat and check that there's nothing added to it. This really messed with their plans, and for now they've come up with something else. Actually, just a few days ago, Rose suggested that they drug me and make me get rid of the baby, and my husband said it was impossible to explain. That was the only problem that he had with the plan. He doesn't give a crap about me at all, but I guess I should have guessed that given he's so chill with getting rid of his own unborn baby. So now you know almost everything that's been going on except for the fact that I've decided what to do. Now, I already explained that I was not going to confront him or let him go so easily. So the only option I've been left with is telling his parents everything. The problem is, I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. What if they just tell him everything? That's going to ruin my plans, and I guess it would be good because he would get some punishment, but I want more. This is why I first want to ask you guys before I do anything drastic. Also, I think I've already mentioned, but I really like my in-laws and think that they're very kind and fair people. They've always been so nice to me, but I'm getting scared thinking, what if they forgive him? What if they support him or don't believe me, and is this really right of me to make this decision? I don't know. Update number 2. A few weeks have passed. So, I was right in thinking that my in-laws would be helpful. A lot has happened in the past few weeks, so let me just jump right into it. A few days after my last update, I decided that waiting was not going to do anything and that I needed to talk to my in-laws about what was happening. So I called Dorothy, whom I'm close with, and asked her if it was okay to visit them the next day. They were happy to have me, but I asked them to keep this visit a secret for my husband for now. I obviously didn't want to say any of this to them, especially over the phone, so I told them that I was planning something for him. They were happy to listen to what I was going to say, so I ran there early the next day. I obviously lied to my husband, and he couldn't care less, as he only wanted to spend more time with Rose. So, I went there, but I had no idea how to start telling them about this. See, no matter how he had been throughout his life, every parent wants their child to do good and be the person they raised them to be. I hesitated at first because I didn't want them to know how bad their son had become for me. But I was left with no choice, as I needed their help through this. So I gathered all my courage, asked them to sit down, and told them that I have some bad news. I told them that their son was cheating on me with his ex, whom they hated, and he wanted to terminate the, well, you know. Now that I look back at it, I think I could have gone slower and done this step by step, as it would have sounded more believable. But the way I did it made me sound absolutely insane and my story completely crazy. At first they didn't know whether to laugh or be mad at what I said. But when it began to hit them that I was actually serious and was accusing their son of doing these crazy things, they lost it. My father-in-law got so mad and immediately starts to scream at me, asking what's wrong with me. My mother-in-law did not get mad but refused to believe that, well, her baby boy would ever do that. I asked the father-in-law to calm down and slowly explained what I, thought and how it all happened. Just by hearing the story and seeing my face, they had already realized that there was no way I was lying to them, but they still refused to believe me. I then told them that I understood what they were going through and I saw all of this happen, yet even I still found it hard to believe. Then I gave them a choice. I told them that if they did not want to know, I was not going to show them the proof that I had, but if they wanted the proof, I would. I completely left the decision open to them. So, they immediately decided to see the proof. I showed it to them, and it would be fair to say that they were very shocked by his behavior. Father-in-law could not believe it and wanted to go home and teach him a lesson. I stopped him. Then I did something that was even harder than telling them the truth. I asked them to betray their son and help me take revenge against him. I told them that he's gone too far and, I wasn't going to let him go. And father-in-law agreed, and I also convinced mother-in-law, and we started thinking of things we could do. But no matter how much we discussed, we came up with nothing really good. Until 1 week ago, when mother-in-law thought of the greatest thing ever. See, when I told my in-laws about Francis only marrying me for the inheritance, the first thing they thought about was just taking it away. But that's not a good enough thing to do. And then weeks later, mother-in-law came up with something brilliant. So, a few days ago, father-in-law tells my husband that he had some news about the inheritance. He was going to give Francis everything and was promised as soon as our baby was born. I didn't know how Francis was going to react to this because there was still a while before the baby came, but it worked perfectly. He was very happy with the news and after talking to us immediately shared with Rose that they just needed to wait a few more months before they could run away together. Both of them were really excited. This idea is great because this way no harm will come of the baby as it grows, and I'll have somebody to help me around before I give birth. For now, this is what's going on. If something else happens, I'll let you guys know immediately. Update number 3. It's been several months, and this is the last update, guys. This one's a wild one. Hey guys, it's been several months since my last update, and I apologize for being late. It's been long since I've given birth and got a divorce. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself with the details, so let me just continue from where I left off. After my in-laws announced that Francis would get the inheritance as soon as our baby was born, he turned back into a loving and caring husband. The same person who was trying to get my child, rid of, was now getting super worried over it. I decided to just go with the flow, but I kept collecting evidence because months later I would need it. After that, nothing major happened, and both Francis and Rose were eagerly waiting for me to give birth so that they could have their money and just dip. Now, let's jump several months ahead and come to 3 days before I was about to be given birth. That's where the second phase of our plan commences. So that day, father-in-law told my husband that he had some work with him and invited him home. Francis then found out that father-in-law was giving him the inheritance and called him there to sign the paper. Don't worry, the papers were oh so fake, but he had no idea. See, father-in-law congratulated him as he was about to become a dad, and he was delighted with everything. He did not even think about me as soon as he got what he wanted. He contacted Rose and told her that he's gotten what they needed and they could now just go. So, they made a plan to go away the next day. So, the next day, 2 days before I was due, my husband left me. It was all part of his plan. The idiot. He told me that Rose had texted him and it was an emergency and he rushed out. After that, he was planning on never seeing me again, but he was very wrong because he was going to have to come to me. A few hours later, he sent me a text saying how a fatherhood was overwhelming and that he never wanted children and that he could not live with me anymore. He told me he was running away and hoped that I would forgive him and stay happy with the child. I didn't even reply. Well, he blocked me a few minutes later, but I didn't really any care because I didn't even reply if I had the chance. That's because I wanted him to think that I was just shocked. After that, I got busy with the pain, and now we jump 2 days later, the day I was supposed to give birth. I did give birth, though, to an amazing, beautiful, healthy baby boy, Cody. And Francis came running back when he realized that the contract was fake. He came to the hospital to confront the parents and asked me what the hell's going on, but all he found out was his mother was standing there holding some papers. She did not answer any of his questions or even give him a reaction and only handed him the 3 papers. The first paper was about his parents cutting him off from everything. It said that he had no relation to them anymore. The second, divorce papers, I already filed. And the third was the most devastating for poor old man Francis. It was his inheritance, the thing that he had done so much for. It said that the inheritance that they were going to give their son was now going to me and my child. Oh boy, did this make him mad. And he tore the papers and demanded answers, and right at that point, father-in-law and the police arrived. He got arrested for trying to get rid of my unborn child without my consent or knowledge. As I recovered, he went to jail, and in a few months our divorce was done. The funny thing was that because of everything he did and the mountain of evidence I had, he has now going to pay me child support. Also, as soon as Rose found what he did, she dipped somewhere with someone and left Francis to fend for himself. Ugh, poor idiot. In the end, he got greedy, and it became his worst enemy. He has not seen his son, and I never am going to let him. Now I'm very happy. My in-laws have been helping me with my son, and life is good. Lastly, I want to thank you guys for your help, and believe me, I would not be here without you.